Autism stems from differences in biology that have an influence on brain development. Autism is a lifelong condition. That doesn't mean that children can't make significant improvements.
This week on the Bedroom Talk Show, we are discussing moms becoming children authors for a purpose. With your host this week, as always, Crystal J. This week's special guest is Taisha Davis Glover. And the name of our books are Just Like You, David Speaks, and Just Like You, Autism Awareness Coloring Book. Make sure you go purchase.
The least you breathe is like I'm dreaming, but I can't wake from this nightmare. I wipe tears. They said my son can't talk. How was life fair? I was dead. You was mimicking words and making sounds. Now you frown, feeling misunderstood. Jumped on the ground, feeling down. You a whole different child. I'm like, what happened? Feel like snapping. You was so full of life. Why people laughing? Keep on dancing, son. I got your back when it's said and done. I feel your spirit. I'll be right by your side while they making fun. Thank you, son. You teaching me patient. My thinking different. People wicked. They be calling you special. I call you gifted. Won't forget it. My whole life changed after a visit. I was lost. The doctor said, you're autistic. Listen, I'm thankful for God and all his blessings. As a parent, I think about life from my son's perspective. I want to know, when they stare in your face, do you feel afraid? I'm not ashamed. Many might call you strange, just how they made. I want to know, do you know I'm your dad? Do you feel neglected on holidays? Do you feel any joy when you open presents? I want to know, do you get bullied from other kids? If I die, where would you go? Where would you live? I want to know. Will you survive if things change? I want to know. When I'm not around, could you maintain? You nonverbal. How would I know if you feeling strange? When you cry, I want to know what's wrong to shake.
Hey, you guys. It's me. I'm back. And this time I actually have a mic because you guys told me you guys couldn't hear me. I've been listening. And this week, we're talking about autism still, but this week is a little bit different. Today, we are talking about moms who have become authors with a purpose. How dope is that? This week, I have a guest. I've been talking to her, and she's been helping me with my book. I have Taisha Glover. Hi, Taisha. Now, I know my audience know my story. Can you please tell my audience about your book and a little bit about why you started your book in the first place?
Okay, sure. Hey everyone, I'm Tasha Glover, and I'm here in North Carolina. My son, Davis, is 9 years old, and he has autism. And he actually was diagnosed with autism when he was 4. However, he was nonverbal, and we had some concerns early on because we noticed that he wasn't reaching the developmental milestones that his doctors expected when we went to his pediatrician visits. And then when he was 4 years old, he was referred to an autism specialist, a psychologist, to get evaluated to see whether or not he had autism. And he was diagnosed when he was 4 years old. His name is Davis, and he just brings us so much joy. And so my point is that I'm actually a former elementary school teacher, and I've always wanted to write books because something that I did notice when I was a teacher is that there was a lack in the market of books with characters of Black children. So I knew that that was something that was needed, that Black children needed to see themselves in books because representation matters. And so I always knew that at some point in life, I wanted to write and publish books. And so just recently, I just decided to go ahead and put pen to paper and write. And when I was trying to think about what should I write about, my greatest passions are my 2 sons. My older son, Nicholas, is 15, and my younger son, Davis, that I already shared with you, is 9 years old. And so I said, I want to write about my sons because they are my greatest joy. And not only that, I wanted to celebrate brotherhood and celebrate their relationship. And their relationship is special because my younger son, Davis, has autism. So that's how I came up with the story. Davis Speaks, a Brother with Autism. And it's actually their true story of their relationship and our family's experience with having a son with autism.
Okay, I love that. And that's kind of pretty much why I end up writing my children's book, is because my son was my inspiration. But the funny thing is I never wanted to be a children's book author. It just came to me. But you did say you used to be a teacher, and you did say it's a need for us on the market. And I agree with you with that topic because number one, the only book that is very well known is My Brother Charlie. And the reason why that is so well known is because she's a famous actress and she has the money to push that book. So that's the book that everybody that is pretty much who know about autism or black, you buy that book. That was the first book I introduced my son to when I found he had autism, was My Brother Charlie. But I know that it's a lack of reputation of black people for on the spectrum on the market. And that is the reason why I created my brand, just like you, coloring book and children's book, because I feel that it is needed. And I know that I am inspiring people to want to one day learn about autism or even educate their family and maybe gift this with somebody. You can even buy it as a gift. Like, that is my mentality on why I created this. Okay. Um, but I wanted to get into something, you guys. I know we're supposed to be talking about this book, but I had a viewer that I want to shout out. I have never shouted out viewers, but this viewer really touched me. Um, I don't remember your name, so I'm trying to go back and find the message. She found me on Instagram, y'all. Her name is Jessica. And Jessica, I want to say thank you for watching last week's episode, because last week's episode was a very powerful episode. And you being a white woman in America with a child with autism, and you understood my pain as a mom, as a black mom, I want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for being that viewer. Thank you for understanding my pain as a black mom that has a black son that have autism on the spectrum. So your message was very powerful to me. I really loved it. I didn't want to share it because I'm pretty sure you want me to share that, but that is a problem in America. Our police do need to be trained. They need to be trained on how to deal with people, not just black people, but people on the spectrum. Like you told me your story about your son who's a white boy with pretty blue eyes, and it really touched me. And I want to say thank you for tuning in every week this month about autism and taking time to tune in last week to understand the culture of why black people are afraid and why I was so strongly to have that episode about that. So I just want to say thank you, Jessica. I wanted to take time to shout you out. So thank you for personally DMing me and reaching out to me. Um, so let's get into this conversation. You guys, she has been amazing to me, you guys. Okay, so I'm gonna show y'all my book. On the side, I didn't know it was you supposed to put something there to get published into Barnes Noble. Do y'all not know? Sister Girl helped me out. Like, I am so blessed to meet other black authors who are willing to share their knowledge with me, because I'm a newbie in this game and the industry has been awesome so far. Do you have any questions? Because I see that I'm not sure if you're talking or if it's dead or.
I was just gonna say you have helped me a lot. Um,
You.
you know that I didn't even have Instagram. so,
I got on her
so
about that.
yeah, Crystal reached out to me and it was just amazing. It was one of the most encouraging moments I've had since I published, because most of the feedback I had received until you reached out to me was from people that I knew. And so people that I had book and they purchased it and they gave me feedback. And so Crystal reached out to me on Facebook Messenger and she said, "Hey, I found your book. I want to tag you on Instagram." And I said, "I don't have Instagram." so so you've been really encouraging me along the way. One, just to reach out as another mother just to be able to share our stories with each other. And also, being another mother who is an author, who is willing to share your platform and also give me advice as well about how the next steps to publishing and marketing books. So thank you, Crystal.
You're welcome. I think that's what it's about. It's about helping each other. Like if I see you struggling in the area and I'm dope in the area, I'm gonna help you. Just like when you gave me that advice about the spine design, I was like, hold up, wait a minute. Now, if you check this out, I have a spine design, and my artist did it for me with no problem. And I'm like, okay, I can get my coloring book because my goal is to get more. Not just my book, your book. Another author I tried to get on here, but she was booked and busy. I want all our books to be on Barnes and Noble, Walmart. I want everybody to see these Black kids on the cover of these books and understand autism also affects the Black community. And let's talk about it. Let's educate ourselves about it. That is something that we do need to do. And when I reach out to you, I was writing my book, but nobody knew. And I was excited to buy your book. And when I read it, it was so cute, so simple, right to the point. And my son actually loved it. And I said, okay, I can't tag her. And that's when I found you on Facebook. And I told you, you need an Instagram. You need I want to tag you because it's a good book and it need to be out there. I mean, it's about a brother that have autism and the brother is trying to understand why his brother is nonverbal. You know, I use the word nonvocal, but I don't use the word nonverbal. And for anybody watching this episode, I will put the terms at the bottom for you guys can read them. Just in case you don't know the definitions or any words we may use, I will try to educate you guys as we do this episode. But I'm very happy to be a part of the artist community because, like I said, that's the reason why I became a children's author, is to inspire children. Like, even for me being bullied in middle school, I have a whole another project I'm working on that I cannot talk about. And it comes from me being bullied then. And being a children's author with a purpose, just not writing books just to write them is important for our next generation and for my son generation and your son generation, for they can read something encouraging or they can see reputation of who they are or they can see themselves. That's what it's all about. Did you have any questions for me? You guys, I ain't writing no questions for this episode. I decided that this is going to be super organic and we were just going to go. That's pretty much. Normally, I write questions for my guests, but this particular time, I did not. Not at all.
Yeah.
Oh, but where can we buy your book?
You can find my book at Amazon.com. And also, it's on the websites of major distributors, Walmart.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and BooksAMillion.com. You can find it there whenever you're just doing your regular online shopping. You can put in David Speaks, a brother with autism, and just add that to your cart. If you want to, Amazon.com, or you can go to my website, and my website is tgloverbooks.com. Glover Books.
Okay. So besides you writing that book about autism, like what was your inspiration? I know you say it was your son, and I know your sons are both your inspiration, but what else inspired you to finally publish it? Because writing a book is one thing, but actually publishing it and paying an artist, because me and you already had this conversation about the artist. We're gonna get into that in a minute. Like, tell me, like, besides that, what was your inspiration? Like, what made you want to publish it?
It was just one of those things that it's always been a dream of mine to be a writer. And I can go back to, well, just a shout out to all of the teachers, because you plant seeds in our lives that last forever. And I just remember being in the first grade, and my first grade teacher gave us writing prompts every day. We have a writing prompt, or we would just write in our journals, our story journals. And one of the stories that I wrote then she made it into, or she helped me to make it into a book. And if you remember back in the early 80s, I know, Crystal, you don't because you're a baby, but back in the early 80s, to make those books, we would take cardboard and scraps of wallpaper, and then we would take paper and we would bind it within books that way, and do our own writing and illustration on the inside, and we would have our own little books. And she took one of my writing prompts and she encouraged me to put it in a book, one of the handmade books that we made back then. And she entered it into this. I think it might have been countywide or citywide. And I actually won an award. And it's something that always stayed with me. And I remember in the first grade, I said, well, one day I'm going to be an author. And, you know, life happens and you kind of start different directions. Like I said, I ended up becoming a school teacher, but even being a school teacher, that was still a desire I always had, was to be an author. And so we're just in a day and age now where the information is available. I didn't necessarily know the route to becoming an author. I didn't know the route to self-publishing, which is what I did. And I know you self-publish as well. And we're fortunate now that the internet and social media allows us to have all the information so that we could be self-sufficient. And if we want to chase that dream, we can do the research and we can learn and learn along the way how to make those dreams come into fruition. So once I found out some of the steps to publishing, I said, you know, I might as well go ahead and do it. And that's how it happened. Like we both said, we're still learning along the way. There's a lot that I don't know, but I'm still partnering with people like you, or networking with people like you, and we're helping each other out and helping spread the news about both of our books so that both of us can continue to pursue those dreams. And like I know you said, there are more books to come for you. Now that I have this little bit of information of where to get started, I could just see the future, me being able to publish more and to get more of those stories out that I've had in my heart and that I've had in journals for years and years and years.
Right. You know, this is going to be the funniest story. True story. You guys, I got inspired by TikTok to write my children's book. Yes, this TikTok 1-minute video made it look like it was so simple to write a book. Well, the illustrator part. I'm confident get into question 2. And I was like, okay. So I found my illustrator on Fiverr. I'm not the type of person to hide secrets. I give people gems for they can help themselves whatever they want to do in life. So I found my illustrator on Fiverr. And I know about her story, but let me tell you guys, I went through 2 illustrators. Well, actually 3 illustrators for my children's book. And it was terrible. And when I finally found my coloring book artist who did this wonderful coloring book, I decided, can you just do my children's book as well? And that partnership has been going great because he's working on my other books as we speak. But my question for you is, how was your journey with finding your illustrator for David Speaks? Because it's a journey to find the right artist for your brand and what you're looking for.
Well, I did the same thing that you did. I went to websites to search for artists. You mentioned Fiverr, and there are a couple that I looked at. I looked at guru.com.
Can you do me one favor? You're breaking up a little bit.
I spent days. Mm-hmm.
You're breaking up a lot. I know what you said because I talked to you before, but just if any viewer watching, I think I know you're breaking up. Can you repeat that answer again about how you found your illustrating your process?
Mhm. And can I ask you something? Is it possible to background that might just cause us to be a delay, or is that something you have to do once the show is over?
Repeat the question.
Is it possible to move my green screen background, and that might help with the delay? Oh,
It's
it's
not the
not.
green
Okay.
screen.
Oh, okay.
Mm-mm.
All
I
right.
don't know what it is. I just
So,
know that you're breaking up, but you're good. You good. Just keep going. You're fine.
okay. Okay. Well, I did what you did. I went to some freelance websites, just, and I also went to Guru, and I went to Upwork as well. And basically, the process is that you can submit a proposal for bids for the type you are looking for. And so I submitted a proposal to see if anyone would want to bid on illustrating a children's book. And I gave those of the type of illustrations that I was looking for. And it took days because I went through and just kind of looked at all of the different artists and the styles of art that they had already completed.
I want to
And
say that was the hard part.
finally, I found one that I really liked his work. And so I asked him, would he do a character sketch for me? I actually sent him pictures of my family and said, could you do a character development for Davis so that I can see if he's good at developing the character? And of course, I didn't expect an exact replication of what my son looks like. We went back and forth for a while. What's interesting, what's very interesting is that I have never spoken with my illustrator before. My illustrator is in communicated via email we started the process in September. So we've been communicating because he's still doing some work for me now. So we've been communicating via email since September, and we've never spoken on the phone before.
But you know what? I think that's common because me and my illustrator, um, he's um he's over in another country, and we speak every day. We have not spoke on the phone, which I am fine with. Um, and it's funny, my artist, I sent him a picture of my son, and that's how he came up with this image. Wrong way. This image right here of the him on his swing, and
Yeah.
he actually got the face expressions down pat. Like we like when I tell you the character development of developing Zachariah for this Just Like You brand, it was very tedious. It was a long process. It took me months because I am a perfectionist and I've been working on it. So when you say you haven't spoke to your artist on the phone, me either. But my artist know my birthday. For my birthday, my artist told me happy birthday. He sent me this happy birthday card. Like my art, yes, I have built a relationship with my artist. Yes, my artist is amazing, and I just got me a new artist for a new project, and he's dope too. Like I'd never imagined me going on this path as being an autism advocate or being a children's author would actually go somewhere. And then that sounds crazy, but I was like, okay. And it's crazy people are actually even going to my website to see um, can they purchase it, and it has been a blessing. But you guys, we're gonna go to commercial break. We're gonna be right back because I think we're having just a little technical difficulties. So the commercial break is actually featuring another Black mom who created a coloring book about different disabilities, and it's 5. And the name of her brand is called Mighty Squad. She's a close friend of mine. And what I do love about her, and she's one of my inspirations, is that she decided to create this Mighty Squad. And one has alopecia, one has autism. I think one have ADHD. They all have different. Each character have a different disability, and I find that so amazing. And she's very underrated. And she even have another book called Career to A to Z. And then she also has one called Feelings. I want you guys to check out this video, and we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Hey, I'm Teresa Chase, the creator of the Mighty Squad. We develop creative resources to help children of color feel good about who they are and what they can become. There is something special about each book. Careers A to Z shows that an industry dominated by a specific gender doesn't make you feel like your options are limited. It also showcases non-traditional career options like ballet dancers, electricians, welders, and helicopter pilots. Feelings A to Z allows a child to be exposed to the reality that they can have a lot of different feelings. Children need to know which behaviors are acceptable while experiencing those feelings. Dad Time features dad-themed activities, conversation starters, and fun and interactive coloring pages. This version of Dad Time is meant to be shared. Join my email list at themightysquad.com to be the first to know when the individual dad and child copies are released. Thanks.
I'm back. So my guest should be right back because she's having a little technical difficulties, and I wanted to try to address that. Because we're having a really good conversation. And anybody have any questions, please comment below. But I'm gonna get right into why I created my book. So the reason why I created my book was to raise awareness for the Black Brown community. And actually, when I thought about it, I'm doing it for the culture because I don't see any coloring book that features a Black brown kid on there, and we're talking about autism, and I'm even teaching you about autism. I'm even teaching you terms, what autism is. And that is the reason why I created the brand in this coloring book, not knowing that people would actually want it. This was just something that came to me from watching TikTok, and I was like, should I actually do this? And I found my artist, and I started on it, and I've been working on it. And to my artist, to my guest come back, you guys, we're going to get into this book. So it features somebody Black on a cover. All my guests is back. And I also have some word searches in here. Besides word searches, I also have some great affirmations. Love doesn't need words, because sometimes I'm not sure what just happened. I'm not sure what just happened, you guys. It's interesting. But anyway, love doesn't need words, because I feel that you don't need words to say I love you. Yeah, people that are deaf that don't need words to say I love you either. So I also have like fun little cute activities in here as well. As I always state, I am pro ABA, so I just want to throw that in there. I do have little ABA terms in there as well. And like I said, my guest is back, and just for educational purposes, I did put some definitions and glossaries in my book. So let's say I use the word in the book stemming. And you know what stemming is, you can go find the word stemming. If I use the word, if you know me, follow me, and I use the word non-vocal, which I use pretty much in every interview, you will see the word non-vocal. The term that is used the most in this industry is non-verbal. I decided not to use the word nonverbal because my son is not nonverbal. He does not communicate through his actions. He communicates using pet systems. So that's a picture change system, and that's the reason why I don't call him nonverbal. Little education moment. You're back. So let's get into your book. I bought your book. I loved it, and you supported me, and you bought my book. Thank you. But you have your book to show my viewers what they would get. The art detail was really good, you guys. She had a copy. Yay. That's what's up. And can you like turn in there and see if they can like see turn?
Okay. I want to show you my favorite page in the book. Well, I got a lot of favorite pages in the book, so I'll show you a few pages. But this is one, and but anyway, I love this page because there it is. Because maybe doing one of his favorite activities, jumping on the And so one of the things in the book is that his older brother initially was concerned because his brother was different. But after time, he realized, I'm just going to appreciate everything that I love about him instead of worrying about his differences. And so some of his favorite things are the one I showed you, jumping on trampoline. But he also loves to play with trains. So I put a pic in there with him and his trains, and he likes to put his trains in a perfect line. And that's one of the characteristics of some people with autism, is that they like to put things in lines. And he loves to just sit down and make lines with trains all the way through our living room. Not just trains, but any toy. He likes to line them up. And this is him in the tree because he loves to climb trees. And he scares me because he climbs really high. And not only does he climb high, but sometimes he'll just go out the back door and I don't hear him. And I'm looking for him
I hate
at the door, and I look up and he's in a tree, and he hears me calling him, and he didn't even make a sound. And I have to look up and say, "Oh, he's in the tree right now." So the first
you should
time
probably
he
get
did
him a
that,
treehouse.
I hadn't thought about
You should-
that.
You
I
should
hadn't
start
thought
getting
about
a
it because
treehouse.
he climbs the tree so well, and he just sits in the branches. So yeah,
Treehouse.
so the first
But
time
you know what?
that,
That picture you show of the jumping in the trampoline was my favorite part in the book because my son is a sensory seeker, and because he's a sensory seeker, he always on his trampoline, and that I swear my son loved that page because I read the book. I read it 3 nights in a row to him, and he was fine. And I always stopped on that particular page that you just showed the audience, and yeah. Did anybody in the audience have any questions for us? YouTube, Facebook. I know I have YouTube viewers. So, do you guys have any questions for us while we're talking about these books? I know I haven't said it because I feel like my viewers should know. But if you want to purchase my coloring book, you can go to www.zachariahworld.com. Once again, you go to www.zachariahworld.com. You order it today. I will ship it tomorrow. So I have plenty of copies on hand to ship out. I'm trying to see if we have any questions. So my next question for you are you planning to write any more books for children on the spectrum? Like any more books for the culture?
I am. The next book that my son and I are a co-author, and we're still on the theme of brotherhood and autism. Again, I think they have the most special relationship, and I just love it. And not, but one of the scenes that I share, or one of the stories that I share in the book, is about my older son, Nicholas, helping Davis through a meltdown. And a meltdown happens sometimes with children with autism when they have a sensory overload. And so for our family, or for Davis, oftentimes things that are normal to us, like a normal light or normal noises or even crowds, they don't bother us. But to some children with autism, it could be overwhelming and it can overwhelm their senses. And
It
that's
does.
called a
Speak on
sensory
it.
overload.
Speak on it.
Yeah. And so for
Because I just
our
had that
son,
issue
he would have
yesterday. I mean, Saturday.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Yeah, he would have a sensory overload often when we went into big stores like supermarkets. Just because you think about everything that's going on in the supermarket, the lights are bright, there are a lot of people, a lot of
mm-hmm,
times they have that music playing, and then
mm-hmm.
there's all of the colors and the smells, the food, and it's just a lot. It's a lot
I
to
don't,
intake.
and I don't
Mhm.
want to cut you off, but I don't think people realize how not all moms that have kids on the spectrum, but for some moms who have kids on the spectrum, going to the grocery store is sometimes not worth it to go through all of that. It's not worth it. Like the sensory
Uh-huh.
overload will be a lot. And with my son, he has not had one in public in a minute. I'm so thankful because it is a lot, and I've been trying to figure out what triggered it, what happened, like why are you crying? I know why you're crying, but let's calm down. I try to figure it out. But I actually have an action plan when we out. I have a bag full of snacks and a tablet. Between the two, one of them gonna work.
Uh-huh.
One of them gonna work. So
Uh-huh.
when you was talking about the sensory overload, I thought I had definitions for sensory on here. I do not, but I I understand because sometimes that is hard for moms to just like. My son's sensory overload is a beauty supply store, not the supermarket,
Mm.
the beauty supply store. When I last time I took him, he haven't had it in a minute. Well, I haven't took him in a long time, but last time I took him, he just had a whole meltdown. I'm like, I just want to buy some hair. I just want to buy some hair.
Right?
But I'm like, you
Right.
know what? Let me just leave. And I just leave. I just don't, it's not even worth it for me to deal with it. And then my other thing, central overload for him was the public bathroom for a very long time. But since I always before COVID, I already started bringing Clorox wipes in the bathroom, wiping I sanitized the whole bathroom. Then I guess he feel more comfortable. But since COVID, it's been pretty easy to take him to the bathroom. So I'm not sure did she freeze you
But
guys. Let me see. Okay,
I'm
but it's
still
been
here.
pretty easy to take her out. Okay, I wasn't sure that you froze, but
No, I'm still here. But yeah, it's for real. And I wanted to talk a little bit in the book about meltdowns because meltdowns happen when our children have sensory overloads. And for people who aren't familiar with autism, they might see our children having meltdowns and think that they're throwing a temper tantrum.
or
And
they
so
think they're
that's
being
something
bad,
I definitely, hmm?
or they think they're
Oh
being
yeah,
bad.
yeah. That's definitely something I wanted to include in the story, so that there were people to bring this to people that hey, sometimes you might see some actions in public, and it's a child who is reacting to being in pain. Because really, that's what
Right?
sensory overload is that they're in pain. The
They
noise is too
are.
loud for them or the lights are too bright for them, and it's causing them to be in pain. So
I think that would
that
be
I
a great
chose
book.
to include. What's that?
I think that would be a great book for you to write. A separate book from the one you already
Mm-hmm.
have. I think that'd be another good addition to your brand to talk about the meltdown. Personally, because my son don't have as many. I figure out a way to soothe him when we're out. I don't really have them problems, and I can't say I don't take him to big crowds because I take him to like soccer games and stuff. But I don't have them issues like at most autism moms have. So I think that would be a great book to introduce to the culture because we do, like I already stated in the beginning, we do need more books for our people to see Black kids on the cover that are on the spectrum. And we need to also create some books on the spectrum for girls, because we're
Mhm.
talking about boys, but it's also girls on the spectrum as well. They just get
Yeah.
diagnosed later than boys. Boys are diagnosed 4 times more likely than girls. So if you don't touch on the women, I most definitely ain't gonna come for the sisters. I'm most definitely coming for them in the most
Yeah.
creative, most respectful way.
Yeah. I looked at your coloring book and I said, I really appreciate that she has little girls in her coloring book, that you have little girls in your coloring book. So I said, that's just
Mhm.
wonderful, um, to show that representation. And of course, I love that they have braids.
And kinks.
Yes,
Do you not
yes.
know me and my artists like me? Do you not know like when I was looking like okay, I'm trying to find the girl. I was so serious. Like I was like, I need braids. I need
Uh-huh.
locks. I told him, I said, I need locks. I need some locks in here. Now he didn't do the locks. I don't think he understood that concept. So we're gonna work on that. But
Uh-huh.
I made
Yeah.
sure that these girls look black. I didn't want any other, and I was not trying to sound anti-white. I wanted to create a book for the culture because I am the culture and I'm creating a path and I'm creating something for the next generation. So when I'm dead and gone, this book's still gonna be selling and they can still
Mhm.
have it for the culture. Like it's all about creating something for this generation and the next generation and next generation and educating them and more black people be aware on what autism is. And that's why I'm so passionate because eventually when you become aware, it's time to accept autism. But this year I'm not preaching of being accepting of autism because I want more people to be aware. Then we can preach about accepting.
Mhm.
That's my piece on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It's funny you talk about you working with your illustrator, because I had the same conversation with my illustrator, and I sent a lot of drawings of black hair because I wanted to definitely make sure that there were representation black hair when somebody opens the book, that they recognize not just this is a picture of any person of any ethnicity that is colored brown. I wanted it to definitely be someone that was of color, and I wanted somebody to look like me because I can't remember ever as picking up a book and being able to color braids. I just don't remember being able to color
I
a
don't
little
I
black
don't remember
girl
that
with
either.
braids in a coloring
Mm-mm.
book. And it seems like
No.
something that's so simple, but it's just a matter of we were being overlooked in the market. And it's beautiful now that people are able to self-publish just like you and to recognize that need and to make sure, yeah, I want to include some little girls, and I want to
Fact.
make sure I include little girls with brown skin and kinky hair, and love it.
You know what? I agree with you. And I feel like it is super important that we represent the black culture. And I don't I colored a lot growing up and I don't recall me coloring any coloring book that had braids. Because it wasn't a thing. It was a black thing. Let's cut to the stuff. Like let's cut. Like we all know that was a black thing. And now that you see the Kardashians and the white girls getting the braids, it's acceptable. Now it's a appropriate style, but then it wasn't appropriate. So of course they didn't have that in our coloring books. Of course it wasn't in the market. Of course black people wasn't on covers of books until we got the power to start publishing our own work. It's when we create our own power and we start creating our own destiny, our own path. And that's the reason for this episode today. We literally create our own path to educate, and I don't know if you know it or not, to educate people about autism within the black community. Because your book, David Speaks, It's a good book. It's cute. It's right to the point. It talks about autism. Done. Now, now the parent can have a conversation. Do you know what autism is? You know your sister have autism. The reason we bought this book, David Speaks, is to have more black books in our house that is about autism, for I can teach my child that their sister or their brother or their cousin or their dad or stepdad have autism, because it's adults on the spectrum. I'm not leaving them out. That's the reason why I became an author. That's the reason why I created a coloring book, is to educate the people and bring awareness. And me reading the reviews, I have been full because I read you have more reviews than me, but my reviews I have been full because I didn't know me putting a glossary in there and taking time to like really break it down would touch people. And I'm always about affirmations. I didn't even that was your review. I didn't even realize I was putting affirmations in my coloring book because that is normally how I talk. Like that's
Mhm.
normally how I talk. So I'm like, okay. And when you said it, I went back and looked at it. I said, oh, that is an affirmation. That is an affirmation for a child on the spectrum. Didn't even realize it until you said it. And I said, that is deep. So I don't know about you, but I have been full with the responses. I have been full with people ordering, people wanting to order bulk of it. Like I have been nothing but blessed. And um I have a coloring book signing coming up. Anybody watching in Atlanta, Georgia, it will be soon. I will post that on all my platforms for you guys to know. But before we close out this episode, talk about your reviews. Talk about your book. Like, I want to know, what have you been full from? Like, what has you just like, oh my God, this made my day. This was worth the money. Cause me and you both know that it costs money to write a children's book. You cannot write a children's book for $50 because you have to get the copyright. You have to get the ISBN number. You have to get the artist. And then after the artist, you have to market your book. You have to get copies of your book to sell your book besides Amazon. So we know that it's gonna cost at least, I'm gonna say at least $800 to start your first children book.
Mhm.
That'd be the bare minimum. No, I'm lying. $2,000 to start your first children book. I'm about right, right?
Well, depends on. I think you and I are a little bit different in that I'm doing print on demand, and so actually
Ah,
order my books in advance, and that makes a difference. So whenever someone goes on to Amazon to order my book, Amazon prints it right then. And so I don't have a large inventory at home of my book.
gotcha.
So I think once you put in that inventory, it increases your price a little bit.
It does.
But yeah. But I would definitely say once you start talking about your ISBNs and your illustrator and your copyright, that you're starting at around 800.
That's 800 flat. That's It's nothing cheaper. You can't go cheaper than that. If you go cheaper than that, you blessed. You blessed and highly
Yeah.
favored because I didn't get that. I know how much. I just told y'all my the blueprint. I told you how much it is spent. I spent 2 stats and still spending.
Uh-huh.
So I
Yeah.
because I'm not yeah. I looked at my bill that I just spent because I bought a whole large quantity of my book and I said, oh my freaking God. So when it came Monday, the bosses of my books, I was happy, of course, but I said, well, all this money. I hope all these sell because boy, I don't need these sitting here. But God has been amazing and God is making sure that these books get pushed. So I'm not even worried that they're not going to sell. It's not even a thought in my mind. So but let's get into your reviews
Mhm.
because you have, last time I checked, you had 26 reviews or on Amazon. Let me go on Amazon while you do that.
Okay. Well, what has what has made me most for reviews is, like I said, you reached out to me. You were the person who reached out to me that I did found me on social media and told me that they bought my book and that how the effect that it had on you and your son. And so since then, people have been finding me on social media. I now have Instagram. Thank you, Crystal. But I now have Instagram, and people that I don't know are finding me on social media and inboxing me and telling me how much the book means to them. And so many people are inboxing me and telling me that the book has brought them to tears.
Yes,
And it was
that
just
is
one
true.
particular one that kind of stood out to me because it was this man, and he was just like, "I'm a man, and I'm gonna just admit that this book had me in tears."
That is funny.
And so, yeah, it is, and like I said, I think one of the most important relationships that you have in life, one of the most important relationships you have in life is your relationship with your siblings. And it's just a story that you don't see a lot of stories of Black brothers and their love for each other. And so,
Mm.
aside from the aspect of the story being about autism, it's also a story about just two brothers who love each other.
And I love that. And I'm going to agree with what you said. I cried because I was happy to see a book of color. I was happy to see it was not just my brother Charlie. I'm not hating on Holly Pete because I'm trying to interview her as I speak. But I was kind of disappointed with her because she did not keep pushing more books about Black kids with autism. She only dropped one. And I don't think she wrote it. I think her daughter wrote it and she just added her name to it. But that was a major issue for me that Holly Pete only decided to write one, and that was many years ago. I think it was like 10 years ago. And so when I found your book, I don't even know how I found it. I said, oh, this 9.99 bet. Bye. Bought it. It came and I bought it, read it to my son 3 nights in a row. He enjoyed it. He loved it. I even read it to his best friend Liam, who does not have autism, who is neurotypical, for he can understand autism as well because it's a story about brotherhood and they act like they're brothers. So I said, it's a perfect book. Well, I had it, but I read it to him too. So I'm really excited to have your book. But before we get off this live, I have like two more questions. And if you're watching this replay and you had comments, I'm so sorry because now we have no viewers, and that's fine with me. So I'm gonna get to this question. I called you, and I'm gonna be very, very organic about the puzzle pieces. So since you had your book, because I know I have people that's on the spectrum who watch my show, I know what happened, but can you tell me, have you been bullied for having puzzle pieces on your book?
Oh, it's an interesting word that you use when you say bullied.
I'm gonna tell you why I use that word, and I'm
Well,
I'm gonna tell you why I use it before you get into your question. And anybody watching this who is on the spectrum, who is neurotypical, I am not trying to offend you. I feel that sometimes the community come across as bullying other people opinions and what their feelings and their beliefs instead of trying to understand and see where they come from. Everybody that use a puzzle piece is not using it in a negative way. I've been very silent all month. I have been so silent. I haven't said anything, but I feel that if everybody don't use a puzzle piece for a negative reason. I'm not me personally. I'm not using a puzzle piece saying that part of you are missing or I'm dehumanizing you. I'm not dehumanizing you. I am celebrating and bringing more awareness to autism in my mind. But then I'm neurotypical, so I know no better. But that's literally how they come across. Like you're neurotypical, you don't know no better. They have no empathy um from some of the things I have read this month, and I feel like sometimes it's overgeneralized, instead of just saying, she created that in a positive way, not a negative way. That's the reason why I asked that question. That's the reason I use the
Well,
word bully.
well, yeah, yes. And the reason why I say that's interesting that you use the word bully is because just on social media, the same way that I'm receiving so much positive feedback, I'm also I almost feel like there's a bot that wherever there's them, that somebody comes in and posts this generic statement about how expensive the puzzle pieces are, because there's so many people that, for as many positive people that I don't know who come in and see my book and comment on it, people that I have no idea who they are will just see the cover of my book just in different social media platforms and just come in, and the message is always exactly the same. It's like it's copy paste, and different people are copying and pasting the same message saying how offensive the puzzle pieces are. And so that's why I'm a little curious about that, because of course I'm a mother, a son with autism, and so I would never do anything that is offensive to the autism community.
I'm gonna
And
stop
at the
you right
same
there.
time,
I agree with you. What you just said right there, I would never do anything intentionally to offend the autism community, and I have had my run in. And the funny thing is, my children's book, you was on the phone with me when I was debating. I took out 99% of my puzzles, 98% of all my puzzles out my children's book, because I had to stay true to me. It was so hard. I had to stay true to me because at the end of the day, I resonate with the puzzle piece, but I also support neurodiversity because I support it. I'm neurotypical. I support autism, so I support both. So in the back of my book, because I talked to you, you had your issue. I put in the back of my book, this book is from a mother's perspective because I'm not an expert. I am
mhm,
learning, but in all my books will have the neurodiversity symbol on the back of them because I support neurodiversity. But I just haven't been liking what I've been seeing, and I have met people on the spectrum who have now became my friends who have nothing against the puzzle piece. And I know your book has a lot of puzzle pieces on the cover. And I know it's not inside of the book, but I know my book is full of puzzle pieces. So but I took time to put an apology letter in mine, because I wasn't changing it because it was already paid for. So I was like, I'm not sitting to pay my artist again more money to do this all over again. So that's the reason why I asked the question about the puzzle piece. But let's get to my last question for you, and I promise this is my last question. So the name of your book is David Speaks, a brother with autism, and I know in the autism community they don't like to be called autism. They like to say you autistic. That is the new thing now. This is a cancel culture.
mhm.
So how is
Yeah,
that going with the autistics and you putting the word autism on your cover? I mean, a brother with autism.
I haven't really gotten a lot of feedback about that.
Hmm.
I've gotten a couple comments about it,
Hmm.
and it's just one of those things that I feel like prior to me ever having a son with autism, I worked in the special needs community, and I'm talking about back in the 90s. And so I was always trained to use people first language. And so when I chose a brother with autism, I was being responsible by using people first language. And I guess now that has changed, that people prefer to be called autistic instead of use language. and that's fine. However, I just understand it's one of those things that there's always going to be someone who has an opinion that's different than yours. So, like I said, I'm learning. Um, I'm learning, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't attempt to be offensive, of course, as a mother with a son with autism. And so I just feel like we should all allow each other the grace to learn and also the grace to have differing opinions.
But you know what? I haven't been seeing that in the groups. I haven't, and I'm in a lot of. That's the reason I asked you about your puzzle pieces, because on your cover is so many puzzle pieces, and I wanted to know, which I already knew the answer because we talk off of here. Um, how has it been with the community? Um, because I had my negative. Now in my book, I haven't had any negative anything yet, but I'm not wishing that. But on my social media, I got called out of on because of my puzzle pieces, and I heard the community, but it's not the whole community. That's the thing. It's not the entire
Yeah.
community. It is, and but I have a opinion on that, but I just don't speak on it. But it's not the whole community. It's just some people, and I understand they're hurting. And I tell you, I try to understand they're hurting. They don't support autism speak, and the puzzle pieces is they feel like it's part of autism speaks. And the puzzle piece was around before autism speaks. Autism speak came out 2005, but that's a whole nother topic. But do you have anything else you wanted to say before we end this episode? We've been going on for an hour. How can my viewers find your book? Can we know a little bit more about your book? Like, how can, if I was just listening or watching, where and how can I buy your book, and how much do it cost?
Oh, so I have two formats. I have both paperback, and the paperback is $9.99, and I have hardback, and the hardback is $15.99. And you can find both the hardback and the paperback on Amazon.com. And you can
Wow.
find me at my website, tgloverbooks.com, or you can find me on social media on Facebook. I'm Teisha Davis. And on Instagram, I am Tasha Glover _author. And my name is Teisha. I know there are 1,000 ways to spell Teisha. So it's Teisha.
Well, I'm so happy to have you. And if you guys, if you a viewer, you should know where to get my book from. But you guys can get my book from ZachariahWorld.com. That is ZachariahWorld.com. And if you haven't already purchased you a copy, go ahead and get that copy because I don't know what you're waiting on. Get here and learn with me. I think that's it. Amazon. It's available on Amazon. If you guys want to go ahead and purchase it, I'm just waiting to drop the link for you guys. I'm working out some things with Amazon. But with that being stated, the name of my coloring book is called Just Like You Autism Awareness Coloring Book. And coming soon, my children's book, Just Like You, is coming as well. You guys, like the artwork that my artist did for that, I was so impressed with him. I was like, why are you playing with me? Like, why are you playing with me? Like, I don't know about nobody else, but I love my artists. And I know Miss Tanisha love her artists too, because let me tell you, it's hard to find a good artist. I don't know if nobody knows, but it is super hard to find a good artist. I'm trying to see, can I show y'all this cover if you haven't already seen it. But my book is $12.99, the coloring book, and the children's book will be $13.99. $13.99. So with that being stated, this was the Bedroom Talk Show. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Next week, I will be back with another episode. It will not be about autism because we did talk about autism the whole month. And I will be back with more autism awareness episodes this year. Don't worry. I have some great guests to interview. And this is going to be a trigger warning. I also am doing some episodes on sexual abuse. April is Sexual Abuse Awareness Month. I want to take time to acknowledge anybody who was sexually assaulted. So I wanted to take that time. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate the love and support from my coloring book and my children's book and my podcast. This your girl, Crystal J. You guys have a great night and enjoy your Monday.
Shit, my thinking different. People wicked. They be calling you special. I call you gifted. Won't forget it. My whole life changed after a visit. I was